Now, some people have suggested that this mushroom is, and just bear with me here for a minute, this is a fun little theory, so I just want to play with it for a moment. Some people have suggested that this mushroom is an alien artifact, and that by eating this mushroom, that voice that you hear is true alien communication. So just bear with me as we explore this theory just for a moment. Now, and by now I mean in the last 10,000 years, we've been onto something new. Not genetic information, not genetic mutation, not natural selection, but epigenetic activity. Writing, theater, poetry, dance, art, ritual, philosophy. And these things have accelerated and accelerated and accelerated and accelerated. All of this has manifested out of this 1% difference between us and our ape ancestors.
If you look at our closest genetic relative to human beings, it would be the chimpanzee. We share like 98+% identical DNA. We are smarter than a chimpanzee. So let's invent a measure of intelligence that makes humans unique. Let's say intelligence is your ability to compose poetry, symphonies, do art, math, and science, let's say, okay? Let's make that as the arbitrary definition of intelligence for the moment. Chimps can't do any of that. Yet we share 98, 99% identical DNA, okay? The most brilliant chimp there ever was maybe can do a little bit of sign language. Well, our toddlers can do that. Toddlers. So, here's what concerns me deeply. Deeply. Everything that we are that distinguishes us from chimps emerges from that 1% difference in DNA. Imagine another life form that's 1% different from us, in the direction that we are different from the chimp. Think about that. We got 1% difference and we're building the Hubble telescope. Go another 1%. What are we to they? We would be drooling, blithering idiots in their presence. That's what we would be. They would take Stephen Hawking and roll him in front of their primate researchers and say, well, this one is like the most brilliant among them because he can do sort of astrophysics in his head. Oh, isn't that cute? Little Johnny can do that too. Oh, that's so nice. Oh, in fact, Johnny just did that. Let me get it. It's on the refrigerator door. Here he is. He did it in his elementary school class. Think about how smart they would be. Quantum mechanics would be intuitive to their toddlers. Whole symphonies would be written by their children, and like I said, just put up on the refrigerator door the way our pasta collages are on our refrigerator doors. So the notion that we're going to find some intelligent life and have a conversation with it? When was the last time you stopped to have a conversation with a worm? Or bird? Oh, well, you might have had a conversation, but I don't think you expected an answer, all right? So, we don't have conversations with any other species on Earth with whom we have DNA in common. To believe that some intelligent other species is going to be interested in us enough to have a conversation? They'll look at our Hubble telescope and say, oh, isn't that quaint? Look at what they're doing.
Another species interested in us enough to have a conversation. That's the thought I want to hold on to for a second. I think that could be a possibility. And perhaps, just maybe, it could be connected to an event that triggered our sudden evolution from these monkeys living in the trees to monkeys living in apartments. So what was it? We were going to talk about aliens for a second, right? Okay. Well, now, I'm not a UFO guy. I rarely look into space and wonder if there's some life out there. But I'm willing to explore the idea. If you accidentally eat a psychedelic mushroom one day, the next thing you know, you're surrounded by spirits. You hear a voice talking to you. They ebb and flow in and out of different frequencies. You've seen things that you've never seen before. The heavens open up and angels come flooding out of it, and you think you see into another realm. This is an alien experience. Not little green men chasing you around a UFO with an anal probe. That's something that we've made up because we're silly. So what is alien communication? Well, this grasshopper knows what alien communication is. This grasshopper was tricked into jumping into the water by a hairworm. It was infected by a hairworm. And in the water, the worm left the insect to start its next portion of life, and the grasshopper drowned. The grasshopper was possessed by the worm, and it was tricked into committing suicide. Now here's another example of alien communication. This is a cordyceps mushroom. This is an example of a fungus communicating with another species. After ingesting the spores of the mushroom, the ant's brain is affected and its behavior begins to change. The ant climbs to a leaf high up in the tree. Then the mushroom kills the ant, and it sprouts out the top of its head and releases more spores from an elevation way high up in the tree, high enough to ensure its life cycle continues. Now, I say this just to show that this is a method of embedding data in a fungus. But what if, and just what if, this method of embedding data into a fungus could be used for more of a symbiotic interspecies communication? When it comes to interspecies communication with the aliens, we've gone out of our way. We look to the sky waiting for an answer, for some sort of a sign that there's life out there, but what if we were looking in the wrong direction? What if extraterrestrial life is already here? How would they communicate with us? And with that being said, I will let Terence McKenna say a few words here on this subject.
And this is something I'm going to, try and convince the UFO community of. What we drug people have that you don't is repeatability. And the scientists always said to you UFO people, what you don't have is repeatability. They don't want to even talk to us. But it is true that when you smoke DMT, for example, at a sufficiently high and prepared dose, you get elves. Everybody does. You may not believe it, but on the other hand, it only takes 5 minutes to prove that I'm bullshitting you 100%. Surely anyone who's studied UFOs and alien intelligence for as many years as the people represented here have can afford to invest 10 minutes in the wild-eyed assertion that all you need do is inhale deeply 3 times, and, you want contact, you want elves, you want alien intelligence, you'll have it up the kazoo. Not all psychedelics are alike. And this very small family of compounds, called the tryptamine hallucinogens, bear careful examination if we're seriously interested in this question of extraterrestrial penetration of the human world. On 2 grounds, immediately, the mushroom bears looking at. First argument, entirely a physical argument. Psilocybin is 4-phosphoryloxy NN-dimethyltryptamine, What this means is that there is a phosphorus group substituted at the 4 position of the molecule. Now, here's the headline, folks. This is the only 4-phosphorylated indole on this planet. On this planet. Now, if you were searching for extraterrestrial thumbprints on the biology of Earth, you would look for molecules that are unique, that don't have mere relatives spread through other life forms. In psilocybin, we have a perfect example of this. It is the only 4-phosphorylated indole known to occur in nature. Nature doesn't work like that, folks. Nature builds always on what has previously been accomplished. So this is a red flag saying at the molecular level, this thing looks like an alien artifact at the molecular level. Now, let's cut to the chase. What happens when you take 30 milligrams of this stuff? Psychedelic experiences at effective doses, not piddling doses, effective doses, are visionary scenarios. They are 3-dimensional unfoldments of information that is extraordinarily complex, architectonically connected, and ordered. That's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about what is unique to psilocybin. What is unique to psilocybin is that overlaid over what I just described is, big surprise, a voice. A voice. Everybody knows this who has to do with this stuff. Gordon Wasson, Richard Schultes, Albert Hoffman. The giants know that this stuff is animate. This is not a drug. It's something which is disguising itself as a drug in order not to spread alarm. There is a voice which speaks to you in the language of your homeland, whether that be Mazatecan or English. And the voice surprises you. In other words, you cannot anticipate it. Now, of course, at this point, though I don't imagine many of them have forced their way in here, the psychological school will come forward and say, well, it's a voice typical of mental aberration, symptom 1 of schizophrenia, a voice. Yes, we are not naive. We went to the same schools you did, thank you. If you really wanted to study a aboriginal race, and you really had a hot technology, what you would do is you would study their social psychology, and you would say, are there any chinks in the armor of their expectations about how reality behaves? And you would discover, in studying us, this species intoxicates itself, and it has a curious attitude towards its intoxications. Anything goes. So, if somebody drinks a pint of Stolichnaya and announces that they see pink elephants, we are all amused. We say, of course you do, you were drunk out of your mind. Isn't it obvious that an alien would hide its presence in an intoxication? That this is the non-invasive, tasteful, respectful way to have intercourse with another species. You say, you put yourself into a plant. You put a barcode into a molecule. Then the shaman intoxicates himself, and he says, aha, it's an ancestor spirit, or it's the soul of the plant. But whatever it is, it's giving me good information. It's telling me where the reindeer went. It's telling me what the weather will be next week. It's telling me who stole the goose, and it's telling me who slept with who, and it's telling me who among the ill members of my tribe will live and who will die. And with that information, I can make a political career as a healer.